Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. Dada, with your 2025 AEW Dynasty Instant Reaction. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, just minutes after AEW Dynasty went off the air to break down everything that happened on this company's second pay-per-view of 2025. Still one more show. Double or nothing to go until AEW All in Texas. And Dynasty wound up delivering exactly the way you would expect for a show run 1 month after Revolution with two much bigger shows in the future. We're going to get to all of that momentarily off the top. Allow the Silver King to remind you that on this show,
it's all about Defy.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we'll read it live right here on the show. And please leave us those 5-star ratings on Spotify. I do really mean that. Those are immensely important as well. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news analysis highlights, all of that good stuff. You can send in questions and comments for the show. And on Twitter, you get to vote in pre- and post-show polls surrounding premium live events and pay-per-views, just like this one. That way, your takes get infused into our instant analysis. And lastly,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every single week. That is buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Just wanted to let everyone know, WrestleMania, it's extremely close from WWE. We have a ton of stuff planned, and it starts unabated this coming Tuesday on our next WWE episode. I just wanted to say that off the top, so all of you knew. If you listen to the show but you don't subscribe, if this is your first time, you like what you hear, make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to performance-enhancing audio. We want you with us for WrestleMania week. But we're not here to talk about WWE. We're here to talk about AEW. And I wanted to let you all know right off the top, this is going to be a different instant analysis than we normally deliver for you here at the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. The fact is, my situation tonight simply sucks. I need to wake up at 7 a.m., make a long drive all the way up through the state of Florida into Georgia. So I wanted to cover AEW Dynasty for all of you, but I didn't have the normal time or attention to do so as comprehensively as usual. So tonight, we're still going to deliver an overview of each match. We're going to focus more on the results, what they mean going forward, rather than breaking down all the moves and giving match quality grades. I'm going to circle back on our Thursday show when we talk AEW and NXT. I'll do a second look at Dynasty. I'll give you some match grades. I know many of you like to know our thoughts on them and compare them to certain other people's match grades, and certainly what is posted on Cage Match and all that other bullshit. So I just wanted to let everyone know those will come on Thursday. I tried to cut down on the move breakdowns and stuff. Unfortunately, some matches that was pretty damn impossible. So I've set the stage. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to the AEW Dynasty instant analysis. After all, Silver King needs to get his beauty rest. AEW Championship main event, Jon Moxley defending against Swerve Strickland. I very much liked Swerve's black and white gear. It didn't need the yellow logo, but vintage Chris Vanini told me that he was being Static Shock, a superhero, so that's why he registered like that, or dressed like that. That didn't really register with me. Swerve bladed behind the announce table so Mox could dig into it with his knuckles and mouth. For like 6, 7, 8 minutes, Mox countered Vertebreaker with a bulldog choke takedown. Swerve hit a rolling flatliner and house call without a cover. Swerve no-sold a lariat, hit a second house call. Marina Shafir entered with the briefcase. Prince Nana yelled at her face, then stupidly just turned his back on this woman. So he takes a shot to the back. Total idiot. Swerve avoided a jumping cutter with Shafir taking it. Then he hit Mox with Paradigm Shift for a false finish. I guess Willow Nightingale was busy on the evening. Mox brought Swerve onto a ladder ringside for what became a Swerve stomp through the announce table. Excellent spot, the single best spot of the entire show. Commentary said AEW had the greatest fans because none of them left during the main event. Seriously. Mox threw a chair that nailed the referee because Swerve ducked. He sold a knee. Swerve did. He had a Vertebreaker. Hangman Page then came down ready to buckshot someone. He kept changing his mind on who he was going to hit. Then Death Riders ran down, stopped them as a group. Page eliminated them one by one, hit Deadeye on Mox, then he got killed into the steel steps. The Ops then ran down, took out the Rioters. Swerve threw a chair at Mox and hit Swerve Stomp, selling the knee on the landing for a delayed cover. But he never got the cover. The lights went out before he got there, with the Young Bucks appearing in a return, hitting a BTE trigger on Swerve. And then 30 seconds later, after Mox finally got over his body, he got the 1-2-3 to retain the AEW championship.
I hate this. I hate this crap. Stop. Stop with the crap.
Let me start with the positives here. An axiom I always share when it comes to WWE Premium Live events, AEW pay-per-views, you always want to give fans a reason to tune into TV the following week. That was actually accomplished here, unless the booking pissed off so many people that they actively decide not to tune in. The other thing I enjoyed was the Swerve Hangman booking. It seemed to clear the way for Paige and Swerve to possibly team up. I like that Paige, despite being indecisive, was pretty much going to take Mox's head off. That's what they told us. The problem is that Swerve said 2 words to him, "I know," 4 days ago. And suddenly Paige is not only going to not prevent him actively from winning a title, but he's ready to actively help him win. That's extremely hard to reason logically. Again, I like that Swerve and Paige are now going to need to team up. That has tremendous potential. But that's a silver lining to what we got here. Those are the positives. Everything else, frankly, was dog shit. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, and it really does feel like 1,000 times at this juncture. Every single major show, every Death Riders segment, every Jon Moxley segment or main event, whatever the case, it could be running white hot. And then you get to the finish. In this case, the match was largely atrocious. Slow and plodding, Mox spending 10 minutes gnawing at an open wound. Swerve makes his comeback, but only gets flashes for brief moments. And then the finish. Holy shit. First of all, Willow nowhere to be found, despite that entirely being set up on TV the last few weeks. She just picks and chooses when she gives a shit about the Death Riders or helping her friends. And yes, I know she got taken out and injured by Mox. I understand she could have come back and helped. But okay, even if you put that aside and say, Silver King, you're being silly, they wrote her off, fine, I'll accept that. Then the writers all come out as usual for Hangman. The Ops, who granted said they would be watching on Wednesday, they came down despite previously having nothing to do with this feud or this group. And then the actual finish, before we even get to the return, Mox takes Swerve Stomp through an effing announce table, 2 house calls, a vertebreaker, a chair thrown at his head, and another Swerve Stomp inside. Swerve can barely manage a pinfall or cover. When he does, it's a kick out. But this dude, Swerve, he loses with a BTE trigger. That's it. No paradigm shift chaser, no bulldog choke knockout, just a BTE trigger after a delayed cover. And of course, that's before we even get to the Young Bucks of it all. Now, I'm not going to go too hot on the storyline criticism just because I really need to find out what the angle is going to be. I want to be fair, as always, but it does slightly fit because they never previously gave a shit when Death Riders were like running roughshod over AEW while they simultaneously did their garbage elite hostile takeover gimmick. But if they weren't doing that, then the Riders wouldn't have formed. It doesn't really work. If they're combining those angles with the Bucks' absence all this time basically unexplained, I just don't see how anyone's going to like that. I don't see how that is immensely interesting as a major storyline heading this company. I presume the idea is that we're going to get a super team of Swerve, Hangman, the frickin' Ops, and they're going to take down the Young Bucks and the Death Riders respectively. And then Will Ospreay goes ahead and wins the Owen. He beats Mox for the title at All In. Maybe Darby Allin returns at that show to assist him, and you get Ospreay and Allin celebrating together. And that could hit for the diehard fans who love all those guys and they think Will Ospreay's the GOAT and all that stuff. But when you talk about overbooking a storyline and overbooking a main event, this is the dictionary definition of that. This was a genuinely terrible finish to a poor main event at the end of a show that largely over-delivered with high-quality matches, despite many of them not deserving to be on a $50 pay-per-view. So we had the AEW Women's Championship, Toni Storm defending against Megan Bayne. This was effectively the mid-show feature. Bayne completely dominated for most of the match. Penelope Ford interfered early and often until Luther grabbed her off the ropes and Fireman's carried her back to the backstage area. Storm tried a full release German suplex from the ropes. Bane did not come anywhere close to getting all the way around, landed on the crown of her head. Not as bad as it could have been. Her arms took some of the blow, but holy shit, was that close to absolute disaster. Bane no-sold the German suplex and hip attack, so Storm hit 3 more and Storm 0 for a 1 count. A 1 count. Bane hit 2 leaping lariats and a Liger bomb. Storm countered Fate's descent into an inside cradle to retain. Again, folks, an inside cradle is not a roll-up. A small package is not a roll-up. These are different moves. This was a great match, and in some ways better than some of what we saw in the Mariah May trilogy when it comes to the bell-to-bell work. Storm's acting and selling, unsurprisingly, was completely on point. She sold the hell out of Bane's dominance and her crisis of confidence. Still, that 1 count, it was patently ridiculous. You want to do a flat 2? Sure. But a 1 after all of that? Yeah, it made Bane look unbeatable, but it made Storm look completely non-competitive by comparison. If the goal was for Bane to come out of this as an absolute monster, she should have won the title. That's what we talked about on the preview. Ultimately, Storm retaining, it was the right move because she just won the title back and she took the trilogy over May. But what exactly do you do with Bane now? That's a really tough question to answer. International Championship, Kenny Omega defending against Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. I forgot to mention earlier, anything that happened on the go-home collision, somewhat related to matches on the show, we're briefly going to go over it now. So on Collision, we had Bailey beat Dralistico in a match that happened for no reason. Ricochet was on commentary. He did rather well talking shit. He delivered the most robotic and straight single kick low blow from behind after the bell that I've ever seen, barely drew any heat. So this match was surprisingly the co-main event of the show. There was a whole sequence of really tough to believe, heavily choreographed 3-man moves. Commentary said, this is what AEW is all about. This match is amazing. Because we need to be told that during every match. They took turns doing running topes before Ricochet just laid on top of Omega as Bailey took his time doing a moonsault knee drop. Then he missed the move on the apron, selling the knee, but he was able to take Ricochet off the ropes with a Poison Rana seconds later. Omega hit a series of Snapdragons and V-triggers. Ricochet tried the same finish as in the Contenders match. We were again told this is what AEW is all about. Bailey hit a huge karate kick, but sold the knee, missing Ultimate Weapon. Ricochet broke a knee bar with a springboard 450, hit Vertigo for a false finish on Bailey. Credit to Bailey, he actually sold the knee consistently through the finish here. We were told this is the greatest 3-way match ever. Bailey did the freaking crane, like from Karate Kid in the middle of the match. Ricochet took it. Then he hit Ultimate Weapon, but Omega broke the fall with a V-trigger. We were told this match will be remembered for the rest of our lives. I am not joking. This is what commentary was like during this match, and really during the show. The finish was Omega taking Ricochet off the ropes with an avalanche one-winged angel, which was spectacular, and Bailey falling backwards into a tree of woe, unable to break the cover, slightly convoluted. This was a really athletic, entertaining match that was just so overindulgent and ridiculous in parts. It was really tough to care about it. You knew that Omega was going to retain the entire time. But commentary was absolutely absurd. It's just wild watching a match like this and seeing 3 guys who can do tons of moves, yet Omega stands head and shoulders above them because he's such an actual well-rounded professional wrestler by comparison. This is going to get 5 stars or more from certain people. I'm not close to that, but it was crazy to watch and it was entertaining. Kazuchika Okada confronted Omega after the bell. Omega quickly dipped out, which was kind of surprising that they didn't sell the moment. The all-in sign was again above them. We know that they're going to do a unification at that show. Omega did look exhausted, so maybe something was going on with him physically where he just really needed to get to the back. Maybe dude had a poop. Who knows? The trios titles were on the line. Death Riders defending against Rated FTR. On Collision, Pac beat Cash Wheeler in 15 minutes. Adam Copeland and Dax Harwood prevented an attack from Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Dax took a bell hammer to the head. Pac caught Cash with a crucifix pinning combination. Commentary sold it as if the hammer took out Wheeler and decided the match, which it most certainly did not. Copeland and Wheeler both helped Harwood up for a 3-way hug, telling us that hatches have presumably been buried, and that seemingly made sense. So in this match, Pac locked Dax in the Brutalizer. Cash broke it by throwing his body with Yuta hanging onto it in the middle of the ring. The faces combined for Shatter Machine and a spear on Yuta, only for Claudio to break the fall. Yuta leapfrogged a spear in Copeland, who held himself up before nailing Harwood. Cope then got pushed into Dax, with Yuta hitting Bazaiku knee on Harwood for the clean 1-2-3 and title retention. Expected finish from a storyline standpoint, just given what we discussed on the preview. Unexpected that Yuta was the one to get the job done, both outsmarting and frankly out-wrestling those guys. But credit for giving this guy something and not treating him like the fourth wheel, which is what he's been for the vast majority of this group's existence. Meanwhile, Yuta's on television 100 times more than Pac, so he really should be the fourth wheel, even though Pac is an incredible wrestler. We don't really get to see it. Cope and Cash lifted Dax after the bell for another hug and arm raise, but after Cash turned around, Dax grabbed Cope for a flat pile driver in the middle of the ring. Then he set up a concerto, handing the chair to Cash to finish the job. He threw it aside, shoved Dax, but it was apparently a ruse. They just lifted Cope up for Shatter Machine. Then they did a leaping pile driver into a chair, and then concerto, with Cash demanding the chair from Dax to do the job himself twice and complete their heel turn. Now, great heat on FTR, given Copeland's popularity. The heel turn for them was necessary just to create interest in them as a team again. And really, they should find a way to fight back into the tag team title picture, given Hurt Syndicate are basically baby faces at this point. What's going to be important here is for Copeland to be out a long time. This dude took 2 pile drivers, 1 on a chair, and 2 concertos. You got to be out at least 3 to 4 months with that. My guess is he's gone for 2, and they develop a storyline for y'all in. The question becomes how you feud a singles guy against a tag team. Perhaps the move is he turns to the dark side, or Christian Cage gets extricated from the patriarchy. They team up, and they go on a final run together before they retire. We'll find out. This was a well-done heel turn, all things considered. FTR has always been far, far better heels than faces. The one criticism I do have is that it was completely nonsensical for AEW security to allow all of this to happen to anyone, let alone a veteran with a detailed medical history of neck injuries. Where the hell were they? Where were all the baby faces who love Copeland? There's also one other thing that slightly annoyed me. So Cash doesn't do the concerto. But then seconds later, Dax lifts up Copeland and they just do Shatter Machine and then do the same stuff anyway, including concerto. Who was the fake out for? They weren't faking out Copeland. He was dead already. Were they faking us out, the fans? Were they just saying, we hate you guys so much, we're going to make you think we're not doing this, but we actually are? If that's the case, great. But it was kind of weird the way they did it. Coming out of this, it does seem pretty clear the Ops are going to be winning the trios titles, and I actually wrote that note before the main event even happened. TNT Championship, Daniel Garcia defending against Adam Cole, no interference, no time limit. On Collision, there was like a backstage summit. Cole contended that it was his destiny to win the title because it's his 17-year wrestling anniversary. Garcia said the next 17 years belong to him. The guys then over-dramatically cleared the room so Cole could tell Garcia the truth. He's not ready to be a true champion or carry a promotion. I mean, facts. It ended with Garcia initially forgetting to take his title, which I thought was odd. They did a weird spot in this match on the steel steps for no reason. Garcia collapsed as Cole tried to lower the boom. He should have gotten a 3 count on an inside cradle. The referee didn't count it. Garcia hit Panama Sunrise and lowered the boom for a false finish. Then he tried an avalanche pile driver, but Cole escaped and hit Panama Sunrise twice. Then he lowered the boom, won the TNT title. Expected winner here, as we discussed on the preview. The problem is not the decision, it's how Garcia's title run was booked. If he had gotten more notable matches and stronger defenses, this not only would have hit harder for Cole, but it would have been much more of a loss for Garcia in a positive way. Instead, he looked just weak in this spot despite his relative youth. As we said on the preview, this did absolutely not belong on a pay-per-view. It would have been a far more fitting main event of Dynamite. It was simply out of place. Probably the second worst match on the main card. It was certainly not bad. I'm just saying comparatively, it was probably the second worst. The spamming of Panama Sunrise was objectively ridiculous. As for Cole, this dude went from crazy over NXT champion to the bottom men's title holder in AEW. The injuries just killed his momentum once he debuted and then returned to AEW. The tag team championships for some reason were on the line. Hurt Syndicate defending against Learning Tree. We obviously discussed previously how this match booking was ridiculous. Bobby Lashley and Big Bill going at it did give us some of what we wanted.
Oh, we got 2 big meaty men bumping me tonight.
MGF appeared in the crowd and punched Bill in the head with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. AEW cameras completely missed it live, but we did get a replay. That allowed Lashley to hit a ringside spear. He had another in the ring, and then Shelton Benjamin covered for the win. I'm not going to shit on this immediately because I want to see what is said about it on Dynamite. If Lashley is crazy pissed that MJF interfered because they clearly did not and should not have needed his help to beat the effing Learning Tree, that'll be appropriate. But MJF interfering in a match that should not have even happened in the first place, just given the lack of value for the contenders on the face, it was pretty ridiculous. And I'm interested in MJF and Hurt Syndicate. I don't know what they're doing with this tag team division once these guys won the title. I thought they were going to completely replenish it. We had Will Ospreay against Kevin Knight in an Owen first round match. This opened the show. Knight countered an attempted Styles Clash into a DDT on the ramp. He again countered a Styles Clash inside with a flip over seated move for a false finish. And he had a really cool backwards frog splash off the ropes. Ospreay caught him flying for an Oz Cutter, which Knight no-sold, countering another for a false finish. Ospreay hit Styles Clash for a false finish, plus a second Oz Cutter for another false finish. And then he won with the Hidden Blade. My only note for this match is they should have removed at least one false finish and probably cut it down about 5 minutes. One ongoing issue AEW has is its top performers always want to put on bangers, not considering that high-level talent like Ospreay should not struggle more with Knight than, let's say, Jay White did in a TV match. Like, Ospreay should have just beaten this guy in 8 minutes, clean, easily, even allowing Knight to show off. But this was excellent work. It was a perfect show opener. There was a clear goal from Ospreay and AEW to put Knight over. He's clearly got incredible in-ring talent. Now we'll find out if he's got more beyond that. As I said on the preview, and this applies to the next two matches as well, opening round tournament bouts being on a pay-per-view is straight up ridiculous, no matter the quality. Mark Briscoe fought Kyle Fletcher in another Owen first-round match on Collision. Briscoe beat Max Caster in 90 seconds during one of those open challenges. Caster alluded to Anthony Bowens in his promo, which basically told us he would be showing up at Dynasty. Caster wore a Ben Simmons jersey to get Philly heat before Bowens did indeed return on 0 Hour with Billy Gunn by his side when he is just really not needed for this. Bowens' gimmick is 5-tool player, which is so formulaic and repetitive and trite, but he was also announced as the pride of professional wrestling. That's the gimmick I like, but not that. Pride of AEW instead. It's way shorter, way easier to say. Why would you say the pride of professional wrestling as opposed to the pride of AEW? Right? Plus, there's no need for two nicknames. Just go with pride. It's so much better, apples to apples. Bowens squashed him with a punch and a rolling elbow. He promised to make history. Now, this is what it looks like to strap the rocket to someone from a presentation standpoint. Everything about this hit, but AEW has to deliver on the booking now. He should probably be TNT champion in pretty short order. Briscoe, in the match with Fletcher, going back to that, threw a bunch of chairs in the ring during a regulation tournament match for some reason. Fletcher murked him with a barricade bomb, much later threw him into snake eyes on the bottom turnbuckle. Briscoe nearly took a brainbuster literally on his head, while on the apron he protected himself using the ropes. Then Fletcher hit one in the middle of the ring and he just kicked out. Briscoe had an avalanche razor's edge and froggy bow before adding some insane cross-arm off-shoulder driver into the back of Fletcher's neck without a cover. It was a great move. He also had a ringside froggy bow that Fletcher avoided despite all that damage. He hit that brainbuster on the top turnbuckle, got the win, Fletcher did. Excellent match. Probably, at the time it ended, the match of the night. It'll be in the A range for me, most likely, without a doubt. Fletcher was the right winner. Briscoe getting extended run. That was fine because he's been booked strong by AEW. Did he need to be this strong? Probably not, but he is a former ROH champion. It just seems like AEW tried to atone for these not being pay-per-view worthy, pay-per-view level matches by letting everyone just try to put on bangers, which fair enough because you want to entertain the fans, but it also was kind of ridiculous. Mercedes Moné fought Julia Hart in the women's Owen first round. On Collision, Hart and Athena beat Monet and Harley Cameron. There was a brief but fun backstage segment between them. Similarly fun moments in the match itself. Hart tapped out Cameron with Athena threatening Monet from returning to the ring. It was the correct booking, both in terms of Athena intimidating Mercedes and Hart getting a win before her inevitable loss to Mercedes. Monet dominated most of the match with a nice lung blower. Hart hit a tarantula over the ropes, an octopus hold, and a crucifix bomb. She also locked in Heartless for a near submission. Monet reversed that into Statement Maker without the arm trapped. The fans loudly chanted for Julia. After avoiding a pinning combination, Mercedes rolled Julia into a seatbelt for the 1-2-3. Unlike the Ospreay Knight match, this was a situation in which it was appropriate for Monet to be put through the ringer, given Hart is a former TBS champion and supposed to be a big deal in the division. Julia, to me, is on the Liv Morgan track in that she's young and raw and clearly talented in the ring, but she's not overly smooth with her moves and transitions. But I would bet good money that she will continue improving and become a legitimate contender in this division over the next few years. That's why I compare her to Liv Morgan. Mercedes was obviously the right winner. It was nice for Julia to get the fan response. Probably her best singles match in AEW. No surprise it came with Mercedes. I will note, though, that they did all that work putting the Hounds of Hell over. They repeated how great they are individually and how they don't need Malachi Black, and all they do is stay losing. In a title versus mask match, you had Chris Jericho, the ROH champion, defending against Bandito. Bandito held Jericho in a vertical suplex position for nearly a full minute. Even with assistance, that was incredible strength. Jericho powerbombed him off the apron outside, taunted his family, grabbed a camera for some reason, maybe because CM Punk did it on Friday, no clue. Jericho caught a tornado with an anti-air code breaker. They did the dual standoff for a third time, but Jericho smartly attacked him from behind because, he's a heel. I'm glad they did that part of it. He stopped 21 Plex and locked in walls of Jericho. Gravity stopped Brian Keith from interfering as Jericho drilled Bandito over the head with a bat, but then hid the weapon first for an immensely delayed cover and the win. Aubrey Edwards, who is not the referee of the match, consulted with Bandito's family in the front row for some reason, brought them ringside, where they pointed out the bat, and then the match was restarted.
Are you fucking kidding me?
The wife or sister, whoever, smacked Jericho with Bandito hitting a second go to sleep and 21 Plex to win the ROH title in seconds after the match restart. And I always say, if you're going to do a dusty finish and you're going to restart a match, don't just end it 30 seconds later. Let them go another 5 or 6 minutes. I mean, with Jericho, you don't want to do that, but 2 or 3, something, it just ended right away. But holy shit, was this some WCW ass booking here? A wild idea for all of you. I mean, it's truly crazy what I'm about to say. Just stay with me for a second, though. What if 54-year-old Chris Jericho had just, lost clean to a 29-year-old up-and-comer in Bandito? Why is Jericho being protected? Why is this match of all matches being restarted when MJF has used the Dynamite Diamond Ring 100 times and plenty of others have won via weapon shots in the past? By the way, what about the fact that the Young Bucks interfered in a main event that was not no disqualification? The referee saw them and everyone else ringside and still counted the 1, 2, 3 on the same show. This match was actually over-delivering. The finish was completely idiotic. Top Flight and AR Fox fought the Crew and Nick Wayne on 0 hour. On Collision, Top Flight beat Crew in 8 minutes. Wayne, earlier backstage, said he was too valuable to help them, so they teased that he needs Daddy's permission, which got him mad. Crew attacked after taking the L, so Fox saved, and then Wayne took him out. So this was twice that Wayne made his own decision, only for Crew to convince him otherwise, just by repeating their requests. So he's immensely influenced by them. That said, I'm actually more interested in Wayne with these two, just given their overall youth and size, than I am with him being part of Patriarchy. He's actually getting an opportunity to speak and show character, so that's not the worst thing. This was a perfect kickoff show match just from an energy-generating standpoint. Fox was oddly the focus of the match when the entire story had been about the other teams. He had a great hot tag, but ultimately he got shoved off the top rope by Shayna Wayne, with her son hitting Wayne's World for the win. So that wraps up AEW Dynasty. As always, we're going to end this show with our grades. Pre-show, my expectation grade for AEW Dynasty was an 85 out of 100. I just felt the match card was not worthy of anything higher than that, despite the fact that there could be good in-ring work. I needed the storytelling and just angles to get me to spend $50 on a pay-per-view, and that is not what was put together for Dynasty. All of you listeners are getting overheads. You voted on Twitter at Getting Overcast, and you agreed. 6.5% were in the A range, 45% B plus to B, 35.5% B minus to C plus, 13% C or lower. That averaged to an 84.3 out of 100, also a flat B. Now, when it comes to my final grade for AEW Dynasty and all of your final grade as well, this is what I'm going to say. Sometimes predictable things are good. We say that a lot on this show. But too much predictability can be problematic. On a 10-match main card, we predicted all 10 winners and 8 of 10 finishes, which only happened because who would have predicted a Young Bucks return in that spot or a dusty finish in Jericho and Bandito? That's an issue, though. Being able to predict every single winner and most of the way matches are going to go when you're asking me and other people to just pay $50. So my first note is that this show was not worth $50, and it was another in a long line of AEW shows that was not. Revolution absolutely was. But some of those shows at the end of 2024, they certainly were not, and this fit right alongside them. In terms of my final grade for AEW Dynasty, it's actually pretty difficult to say because, again, the match quality was high. If you're asking me to grade it purely on an entertainment standpoint, I'd say, well, it's pretty damn entertaining. Main event frustrating, Jericho match, WCW booking, but I loved Storm and Bane. I was entertained by Ospreay and Knight. Briscoe and Fletcher over-delivered as they usually do. The triple threat really was not my cup of tea. I saw people loved it. It really wasn't for me. I liked the booking of the post-match for Rated FTR and Death Riders. The tag team championship was worthless. The TNT title was worthless. And really those first round Owen matches, despite them being quality, they didn't really mean anything. And then we got the main event going the way the main event went. So it's tough because I'm on a borderline grade and it's not a great grade, right? I'm going to go ahead and I reserve the right to change this because we are going to do a second look on Thursday's show, but I'm going to say an 84 out of 100, a B. It was a fine show, a lot of exciting action. Not a single match result from this show will be memorable whatsoever. I mean, you will remember the fact that the Young Bucks came back and did all that. But in the grand scheme, it wasn't a moment, right? Nothing really exciting happened. Both title changes we got on the show, like I said, were immensely predictable. And I just can't really go higher than a B. I won't go higher than a B, even on rewatch. But right now I'm at an 84 out of 100. In terms of all of you, our listeners are getting overheads. There's still technically some time left on our Twitter poll, but as it stands right now, 12% are between an A and an A minus, 28% between a B plus and a B, 26% B minus, C plus, and 34% C or lower. That averages out to an 81 out of 100, and that is a B minus. So one of the lowest graded shows in the history of this podcast. I don't know that it deserves an 81. That does seem immensely low given the high quality action that was on the show. That may be an overreaction to the way the main event transpired. We'll see how this poll kind of shakes out, if it does change significantly at all by the time we get to, the poll closing and of course us doing our second look on Thursday. But that is the truth in general. This was a B to B minus show. And you can say, well, the action was incredible and they put on multiple, 4-star, 4.5-star, 5-star matches. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, high quality wrestling is important, but there is so much more that is also important along with the ring work. That's what we talk about all the time right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. So look, that wraps up this unique instant analysis from the Silver King. As mentioned, we will do a second look on AEW Dynasty this Thursday. We'll also talk NXT on that show. Between now and then, a WWE episode coming your way on Tuesday. And there will be a special guest joining us on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast this week. The only thing I can tell you is that they're always right. So wrapping up this edition, allow the Silver King to remind you that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
It's all about the five.
Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we'll read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Getting Overcast. You'll be able to watch that interview in its full length on video. Also clips of old interviews and full-length audio episodes on YouTube at Getting Overcast. Follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter, at Getting Over on Blue Sky. Episode drops, news analysis highlights, all of that good stuff on Twitter. You can vote in pre and post show polls, and on both, you can send in questions and comments. We will do our best to answer them on the program. And please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
Sure hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, exclusive news analysis every single week. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Thank you all so much for listening to this special instant analysis edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Like I said, WWE WrestleMania is ahead. We have 2 loaded weeks of performance-enhancing audio for your ear holes. If you're a first-time listener, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This is the Silver King signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.